So we're taking the classy old girl today, and sometimes before you leave on an errand trip, you need to do a couple things. I topped off the coolant level. Well, it still says low cooling, so I think that switch is full of crap. Well, it's not full of crap because it was empty. I have a very slow head gasket leak on this in the back of the right cylinder head. 261,000 miles, we're going to run it until it can't run anymore. So that is not a major concern. It appears that the ABS light is back on, so as GMT 800s go, status is normal. This truck has, like I said, 261,930 miles and counting. So on original T-case, on original rear axle, on original engine, on original front axle, and on original transmission, 4L Slippy E. It is a wonderful truck. You know, the key with the GMT 800s is how were they maintained and how were they treated. If this wasn't sentimentally valuable to me, this classy old Chevy, I could break it in probably 12 minutes because they're notoriously fragile. The 10 bolt in the rear is a joke. The 4L60E, if you get it hot, it will never come back. And being that this engine is, it's been around, I am most concerned about the engine on this truck. I think that the prior owner, who is my fiance's grandpa, I think there may have been some slip-ups on how often the oil was changed, because that would explain why it has a little bit of a lifter tick, a little bit of slight piston slap, and potentially, well, I'm not sure about the head gasket issue. Generally on these, that's caused by overheating them. So, bad water pump, or water leak, or bad cooling fan clutch. So, I did the water pump on this. It has a new idler pulley. It has all three new fuel lines, the evap, return, and pressure line. I put new brakes on it, so we have greatly improved the efficiency of this thing. We have 209 miles on this tank of fuel, and we still have more than 3/8 of the tank. So we definitely have cured a lot of its issues. The other thing, I run with the overflow bottle cap loose so that we're not building any pressure. I think the cooling system is going to be able to keep it cool without building pressure today. It is 87 degrees out, so we're going to find out if that's true. Hopefully we're going to make it to Sam's Club and pick up some new jugs of 50/50 mix antifreeze for it. I think Sam's Club sells antifreeze. And I have to get some freezer items. I got my cooler in the back of the truck. We're going to do some general shopping. I may also get a haircut while I'm in town. So we're going to do a series of things today and have a little bit of fun in a classic truck. Now, why do I go through all this effort to have this stupid thing around, to put more money in it than it's worth? There is definitely more money in this truck than it's worth. It's got a new set of tires and, like I said, a bunch of service items to make it as reliable as I can make it. Why do we do this? Well, my truck cures one problem, but when we first got this truck, it was the only thing we had with a middle seat. Well, besides my Cummins. My Cummins also has a middle seat. That is one reason why we love having this truck. I love taking my daughter hunting in it. I love doing a lot of things. Recovering deer, like I said, I've said this in other videos. The middle seat, when you have an awesome 5-year-old daughter who loves being a part of things, is worth having. She can hang out with you and whatever. It's good for hunting in general, because if you need to put dogs in the back seat and then you want to put your guys in the front, good for that too. The middle seat's great. The other thing is, these are classics, man. This is a 2001. So what that means is that it is over 20 years old. Back when I was young, we romanticized square body Chevys, and the last square body Chevy would have been, pretty sure that would have been 88, would have been the last square body pickup truck. 1992, I believe, was the last Suburban, and they were, in the early 2000s, they were turning 20 years old. Or actually, that's not true. In the 2010s, the last of them were turning 20 years old. That is a crazy thought, that when I was just starting driving, square bodies were turning 20 years old. And now this truck is 20 years old, more than 20 years old. So, it's fun driving these old things. And I will say, like I said, like I've said many times before, IFS is not my favorite thing. And 4L60Es are not my favorite thing. 5.3s in their stock form are pretty anemic. This is an LM7. I have tuned LM7s quite a bit. We put an LM7 in a 2500 HD with a 6.0 torque converter and a 4L80E, and turned off all the torque controls, gave it all the fuel and all the timing, and beat the ever-living tar out of it. That engine made it to about 350,000 miles before it sent 2 rods out the bottom of the oil pan because the oil pump failed. So, these engines are not, in my opinion, 500,000 mile engines. Generally, the oil pump takes them out before that, or generally a rod bearing takes them out before that. It's generally what kills them. But for, they start getting squirrely at like 280, 290, you're probably going to have a bad enough head gasket issue that you need to address that. Like I said, oil pumps are issues. They are very much wear items. And you could be like my buddy who had a 347,000 mile 5.3, and he let it sit for a couple of years, and the O-ring that goes for the oil pickup tube shriveled up, and then he fired the truck up, and the oil pressure didn't notice it, and it ate the bottom end, sitting there idling for a couple minutes. So, enjoy them while you got them is kind of my recommendation. And these are very enjoyable trucks. On road, they ride pretty good, as long as your shocks are in good condition, as long as your rubber components are in good shape. They ride pretty good. Off-road, they ride pretty good. You can have a lot of fun on a 2-track with one of these. We generally use this thing for going around our private property, so I would call it very mild off-roading, and also taking dirt roads, going and doing errands, and having fun. So we'll see how the truck treats us today. I have a huge amount of love and respect for GMT 800s, and the reason is because, number one, each rendition, now there are a lot of minute differences over the 99 to 2007 run of these GMT 800s, but the big differences, or the things that matter, the frames, the fenders, the hoods, the engine, the transmission, largely stay in the axles and CV shafts and U-joints. A lot of those things stayed extremely the same. Minor details would be changes in steering wheel design, potentially changes in dash, and there was the L33 aluminum block in later classic trucks, and obviously that is a lot different from the LM7. It is higher compression and it's aluminum. It's a pretty cool engine. The thing is that the LM7 in the right hands with a HP tuner system is a force to be reckoned with, and it's a whole lot better engine than the transmission that is behind it. The 4L60 does have advantageous gear ratios. It has a nice first gear to get you out of the hole, and it's got a nice overdrive gear as well. It is a good daily driving transmission, and if you can have an engine or a transmission builder build you one of these things that actually holds up, not a bad way to go. The problem is that most of the time they do not hold up very good, and you end up having a 4L Slippy E situation, where this one is rock solid. The only thing it does is it hangs up when you put it into reverse. You got to give this thing a second to drop into gear. They turn fairly nice, though for its wheelbase, IFS on these trucks is a little bit not so perfect. It turns okay, but for its wheelbase, it could turn a lot narrower, but it's better than the HD trucks. So I'm going to run in and get my prescription, and then we're going to continue on with our day of activities. Some of the downsides of driving an older truck around is that it is a lot less convenient. If you were looking at me right now, you'd see that I am dripping in sweat because it's Michigan, so it's humid and hot. And the AC takes a little while to recover. Now, I will say, a lot of beaters don't have AC, and this truck having working AC is kind of nice. It just takes a little while to catch up. The other thing is, these had very antiquated radios, and did not have what we're so used to today of aux cords and USB ports to plug in your phone, or God forbid a USB-C for all of us with a more modern phone. There are people driving right now who did not know that we used to take cassette tapes with an aux cable hooked to them, put them in a cassette player so that we could plug into our aux port on our phone or our iPod. And nowadays you don't even know that we had iPods and flip phones so that we could listen to music on one, and then they went to iPod videos. So, I mean, there's a whole generation of people right now that are old enough to drive and old enough to buy beer that didn't know what we had to deal with. The other thing is we used our our cigarette plugs to put an FM transmitter or an AM transmitter or both on there so that we could play our music. We'd plug that into the aux port. It would broadcast our music over an AM or an FM band of our choosing, and then we'd play it through the radio. And moreover, we would then, if none of those ideas were advantageous for us, then we'd go and put either a single DIN or a double DIN radio in our vehicles. And I generally would run RCA plugs back to an amp, and then I'd run the door speakers off the amp. So I never used any of the factory wiring harness. I just ran RCAs back to the amp, ran speaker wires out of that, and then I had some really good sounding door speakers. So we did some janky stuff back in the day to have some good tunes, and I know you guys that are even older than me did even jankier stuff. But you know what? We got by. So someone's going to ask why I run the overflow bottle lid off. And as I mentioned, it's to not build any pressure in the system, because that's what's going to push the coolant out of the head gasket. Now, this truck should have a big enough cooling system where it can maintain the cooling of the engine without pressurization. The reason why we have pressurized cooling systems in modern vehicles is because the boiling point of water is higher, or in this case, water and antifreeze mixture is higher when it's under pressure. So, by making it an ambient system, our boiling point is lower. So, or more nominal is what I should say, not lower than water, but so 212 is what we definitely want to stay under, or else you will boil over. For instance, you could have a heavy towing application where you might have water temp get up to 214 to 228 or something like that, and you're not going to boil over. If this was a vehicle, so is the car in front of me going to turn, or what are they doing? Oh, they're turning now. If that was to, happen, of course, it would boil over if it was an ambient pressure system, but because it's a pressurized cooling system, it does not. So, with these older vehicles, they drove a little bit different, but they didn't drive as janky as old cars. Have you guys ever driven an old vehicle from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and if it didn't have a manual and it had an automatic, it was really different, because they generally had kickdown cables or TV cables or any other different way of, they had vacuum modulators, they had all kinds of different ways to tell the transmission how much load the engine was under, okay? And the other thing is they'd shift really early, where this truck will run up to 5,200, 5,100 RPM and shift. An older vehicle like my 1969 Mercury Marquis shifted at like 3,700 RPM when it was new. So things were optimized for a different RPM range than we're used to today. And the other thing is they shifted very early into higher gears to save fuel, because people didn't care about going fast as much. It's amazing what a difference those are, and then how close this drives to, say, a brand new vehicle like my Expedition. It is only 4 speeds, but you'd be surprised to find out that one of the bigger difference is not overdrive, that it is first gear and third, and usually a 4-speed's first gear like this would fall generally in between second and third on a 10-speed. So your biggest gain is really coming off the line, and how much you really need that with more power. So it's kind of funny. I bring up why we have 8, 9, 10 speeds these days. It's for emissions. It's not for going fast, because you don't need to have 10 speeds to go fast. It is literally to keep the engine in its optimum range, to make the minimum amount of emissions humanly possible. So, with these antiquated old 4-speed trucks, they actually worked pretty darn good. We're cruising right now with, I believe this is a 373 gear truck in 4th gear converter lockup at just over 1,500 RPM, probably 1,650 if I had to make you a guess, at 60 miles an hour. Which is probably slightly higher than speed limit, but we're not going to talk about that. It is remarkable how easy and well this truck drives. I've seen what going around lately on social media is what vehicle would you pick to do a cross-country road trip, and all these whatever. This truck would do a cross-country road trip right now, I think. We should do a YouTuber to YouTuber contest, and everybody bring their beaters and do a cross-country road trip, YouTubers all together. It'd be really, really fun. I only know one, and he's a busy guy, Maybe Jacob would want to do that sometime, but I think that would be absolutely hilarious, is to bring our vehicles. If you don't watch American Automotive YouTube channel, you definitely should, because Jacob makes some really awesome content, so also check him out. But don't leave me hanging. Don't forget about me. And no, Jacob didn't ask me for a plug at all. I just like the guy, and I watch his videos, and he makes great videos. So, and he also has a 6.0 powered 1500 HD that he swapped a LQ4 into, which was originally equipped with a 5.3, and also had head gasket issues, if I'm not mistaken. Probably the same place that this engine has head gasket issues. So, this truck had a nice feature. This was an option to have 3 of those darn things. This also has passenger side airbag on or off, and that's because the back seat isn't super ideal to put child seats, because there's not a lot of room. So if you put your child in the front seat, which everyone tells you is bad, and by the way, I don't drink pop. Someone left this in here. I haven't had a pop in 11 years. Which I'm all for keeping kids safe, and I understand crash tests. That's what I do for a living. I understand vehicle dynamics when vehicles crash. The thing is that when you live in a rural environment and all you're trying to do is get your kid to daycare in the morning, and you're not going to pass anybody on the road, I think your risks are pretty darn low, and I'd rather the car seat be properly installed and more comfortable in the vehicle instead of turned on its flipping side in an extended cab pickup truck. A lot of the reason why extended cab pickup trucks have gone by the wayside is because they're kind of inconvenient. That's what this one is. So, what else can we talk about? We'll get some outside views here in just a second. The clock is right. It is 6:07. And this radio does work. Oh, yeah! All right, I do not want to get in trouble for that, but I do really like Green Day. Despite me and the owner of Green Day not necessarily sharing a lot of life experiences or opinions on a lot of things, I really like Green Day's music, and I am entirely able to put aside people's political convictions when they have excellent talent in music. Anyway, so some of these had 6-disc CD changers. If you had a higher end model, that came a little bit later on in higher end trucks. The biggest problem with these, I would say, short of a major mechanical failure, which can be avoided with proper maintenance and avoiding abuse, is door locks, window switches, or window motors and switches, and dash problems. Dash problems are pretty common on these trucks. They tend to go wonky because the stepper motors get messed up, or a bad connection somewhere or whatever. I think one of the biggest problems the GM ever had on the 1500s was this spot right here that does absolutely nothing. That's, I think, a message center for some things, or maybe does absolutely nothing at all. There's obviously the digital message center right there, but then I think that actually has some emergency lights. Maybe that's where the transmission light would come on. There is no transmission oil temp on these half tons, even when they have a towing package. And I'd like to ask why in the world they did that, because it would be so simple to put a gauge. The ECU is tracking transmission temperature. Why don't we have a gauge so that the owner can know what their transmission temperature is? If you have one of these and you want to do any real towing with it, I highly recommend you get an aftermarket transmission temperature gauge. We do not do any real towing with this because this is used entirely for choring, hunting, and a relaxing evening cruise on a back road. Hopefully today we're going to pick up some lime and some fertilizer, which is just what this truck does best. So I'll have that available for doing food plotting here in August. I got to do a little bit more food plotting and more fertilization and some more liming, because the time to lime is all the time. Yeah. So this truck does not have OnStar. That is a feature that GM came out with later. It does have a very cool compass and temperature in the mirror right there, which is awesome. This truck is a topper, so you can't really hardly see out of it at all. But yeah, it works. This truck, of course, has wipers, and they work. It does not have a working speed control. Usually, the reason for that is there's a wire that's broken in here. You have to replace the whole turn signal stock. It comes with a new wiring harness, and you plug it in, but it is a bear to remove. I did mine on my 6.0. It is not ideal. It works by this little lever right here is on off. That would be for on, and then this is up. So you can speed up by clicking right there. It's a very handy speed control setup, and you engage the speed control by hitting the button on the outside, which normally would turn the speed control on, but on this vehicle, being it doesn't work, it doesn't. So, I'm just scanning over our relevant gauge here. We have oil pressure, and this engine does maintain pretty decent oil pressure, and temperature has not really budged at all, even though it's hotter than Hades, and I have sweat dripping down my face. We need some fuel. We'll get some on the trip. We'll see what's cheaper, probably Sam's Club, and the alternator is charging, alternator, and it is there. We don't have any major messages saying that everything has gone to hell, which is good. So yeah, I think we're going to commence our Sam's Club trip here very soon. It's a little bit out of the way, but we're going to do it anyway. Take care all, and we will touch back in a little bit. Well, this old girl fired right up. The rear tire was locked up. Oh, that was the one that was locked up, wasn't it? Yeah, that's probably why, going fast with it locked up. So we found the maximum tensile strength of the axle. We'll investigate that. But hopefully, we're going to kill this car later on tonight because it is not safe to be on the road anymore, and we're going to have some fun. So the black truck has done an immaculate job. I picked up this Igloo cooler at Sam's Club on sale for 69 bucks. And look at how much crap this thing can swallow. What I'm trying to do is have a decent supply of quickie meals at the shop so that I don't have to go out and I can just go shopping at my shop across the street and get some food. So the Sam's Club adventure in the black truck has gone swimmingly. Oh, I got some snacks for the Blues Festival coming up here soon that we're going to witness. So plenty of snacks and some protein. We got some peanut butter crackers in here and some assorted other types of crackers with cheese and peanut butter. Should be great. And we got some really good looking Honey Crisp. That's gonna be awesome. And some Nutter Butters. Gotta have Nutter Butters. So tell us about our meal we procured at Sam's Club, Bob. What are those? It's
a pinwheel.
A turkey pinwheel. And then we got these pre-made tacos that we're gonna pile up, so this way we don't have to go out and eat at the, and spend a whole bunch more money. So this is gonna be excellent. I got a secret spot here to go explore.
There's sliced tomato chicken and...
I think there's some bell pepper in there too. Yes. Absolutely excellent. So I'm a new member of Sam's Club, and I am floored as to the value that I feel like I'm getting from it. And no, I'm not sponsored by Sam's Club, but we're gonna go to my secret hiding spot. Well, that sounds weird. We're gonna go to my secret spot, and we're gonna eat some cold tacos with some like cheese sauce, it looks like, and some salsa. So we'll check back in. Hello, would you guys like to be friends? Got ourselves.
I mean, I know they're not the biggest, but I'm smelling.
And on a Friday night, Corona gets its lime.
I'm smelling pork meal right now.
I think they want some food.
Oh, I know.
So we are successfully completing our mission. It's like 9:30. It's amazing how long things take. We stopped and had a nice meal on the side of a nice little pond, and we are just rolling home right now with a pillaging of Sam's Club. So we have some good freezer stock of quick meals where we don't have to go out to eat, and nice little test run of the black truck. The ABS light is still on, as it should be, because if it ever went off, I'd be concerned that the world stopped rotating the direction that it's supposed to rotate. I'd be concerned it started going backwards. But nothing to report. Temperature's good, oil pressure's good. So, and a brand new full tank of fuel. So she will be living happy. We're going to hopefully do some more with the black truck. If you guys want to see perhaps some camping or some road trips with the black truck, let me know. This has been a long-term member of the family, and I don't really do a lot of filming with it, but I've noticed that there's a whole lot of interest in the GMC 800 trucks. I have made several videos about it, and there's a whole playlist for the black truck. So, and again, this is a 2001 Chevy half-ton Z71 four-wheel drive, of course, extended cab, short bed, with a nice little classy topper. So I hope everyone takes care of themselves and has a great day.